Chris Collinsworth here, along with Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, as we get ready for the National Football League draft. And of course, gentlemen, the question, as always, the quarterback class. And this is perhaps one of the most interesting quarterback debates that we have seen in many, many years here. If it goes the way it typically goes, a lot of quarterbacks are going to go in the top 10. Maybe half of them work out. Maybe one of them becomes a superstar. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, who the heck is that going to be? It's not easy. It is not easy because there are some legitimately talented, proven young men in this draft. Steve, I'll let you start. Let's go right to the top of the list. You get one pick. You're the Cleveland Browns. You're going to take a quarterback, and you're taking
Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma. I think when you look at his production the last 3 years, PFF system, he's been our top-graded quarterback both of the last 2 seasons, and he's got 3 out of our top 6 overall grades in his career. I just think his on-field production has been way too good to pass up. There are question marks about the system and easy throws, and all of that stuff is valid.
his size,
some off-field stuff. But of all the smaller quarterbacks that get passed up in previous years, Baker Mayfield makes up for it with plenty of arm, accuracy, pocket movement, pocket presence. He's just a playmaker inside and outside of the pocket. And the thing I always come back to with him, he's always exceeded expectations. Came in as a walk-on at Texas Tech, exceeded. I've been looking for reasons to doubt him his entire career. But it doesn't matter which way you slice him. He always looks like the best quarterback in our numbers.
And when I watch him, I just cannot. The name Drew Brees just keeps coming into my mind.
Yeah, there's no way that you can slice the numbers or the tape where Baker Mayfield isn't head and shoulders above every other quarterback in this class. And that's even when you factor in the negatives, and there are some. That system at Oklahoma does manufacture him a lot of free yardage, a lot of easy plays. They run 20% of their passing plays are screens. But even if you take out all of that and you factor in the stuff that's easier for him than it is for some of these other quarterbacks, it doesn't eat into the margin that he's ahead of those guys. He's just the best quarterback in this class.
And he's NFL ready, right? All the RPO looking stuff, the play action, the quick decision making. Are we at all concerned about him off the field? Because I personally like quarterbacks that are a little bit cocky,
yes,
right? You want them to have a little bit of that stuff to them. Does he cross the line?
I think he crossed the line to the point that Sam started to love him because of it.
Sam's crossed the line long ago.
He loves that attitude. He loves that little extra bit. I think there will definitely be some NFL teams that still want that CEO, perfect character guy. But I'm kind of with you guys too. I think this isn't a Johnny Manziel situation, and I hate when they make that comparison. Johnny had off-field legitimate issues where I think Baker has a little bit of the swagger that does work for him on the field.
Yeah, I think Baker went over the line, got himself in trouble with the cops, arrested, tried to run from the cops. Big mistake, and he'll explain that away as being, a youthful indiscretion. It's not a consistent serial addiction problem, essentially, which was Johnny Manziel's issue. Baker Mayfield went over the line, but he is not a character concern to me. He's a guy that has an attitude that will jaw with defenders. I think that's a good thing. You want your quarterback to be a guy who will stand up and fight defenders, will be in the trenches with you. I think that's a great thing.
All right, let's go to the Battle of L.A. How many times have we had both L.A. teams now with really good quarterbacks?
Yep.
Josh Rosen, you look at him, I think he's had a few injury problems here and there over the course of his career. Obviously a talent. Sam Darnold at USC. Who do you like?
I like Darnold. I think they're close. I mean, they're both guys that I would take in the top 10, but I think the thing that separates Darnold is his ability to win both inside and outside of structure. And you see a lot of times on his tape, he's able to avoid pressure and make plays outside of the pocket. I think with Rosen, he's a little bit more of that prototype, a little bit more structured. The NFL is going to love him because he's got the size and he throws a nice tight spiral. But some of those outside of structure plays doesn't make those as consistently, and he makes a lot of bad decisions when it comes to the outside of structure plays. I think Darnold has that little extra bit, and you see it in crunch time too. That guy has made fourth quarter comeback after comeback after comeback throughout his 2-year career. That's all he's played. but he always seemed to come through in crunch time, and I think that separates Darnold just a little bit.
I'm going to go the other way. I think Josh Rosen is the guy that has the higher upside. I think he's an inconsistent quarterback. He reminds me of Eli Manning. He reminds me of Jameis Winston, guys that are extremely high variance. And I'm going to use your argument against you because those high variance quarterbacks are the ones that prove to be the most valuable down the line, because eventually you're going to get a run where they avoid the negative mistakes. They just make so many positive plays, and that's when you get that 2015 MVP Cam Newton kind of season. I think Rosen's capable of that. And compared to the Darnold, he doesn't have a stretch of games where he looked horrendous and was actually incapable of holding on to the football. It was just flying out of his hands, fumbles left, right, and center. That's worrying.
I've got to say I'm a little bit leaning that way. If I had to just say, all right, give me 5 plays and let me see what they look like with the ball coming out of their hands, because that's still a big part of the analysis. I think Rosen is a little bit better than Darnold in just that simple scenario. Do you agree, disagree?
No, I agree. I mean, Rosen, he's got a beautiful throwing motion. Darnold's got a little bit more of a loop, though I don't think it works against him until last year. A little bit it did, during that little 3 or 4 game stretch where he was just horrendous. He was fumbling, did have poor ball security in the pocket. But look, his high-end plays, his middle of the field just feel for throwing guys open and the big-time throws that he makes, there are so many passes where his guys are not open at the release point, and he's putting it in the exact spot where he needs to throw his guys open. You just see that all the time on tape for Darnold, and he's still such a young quarterback.
All right, I'm saving Josh Allen for last, but I want to go to a couple other guys. Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I watched him at the Combine. We know what he can do with his legs. Let's not even discuss it. This guy is one of the phenomenal talents as far as moving around. Can he throw the football well enough to be an NFL quarterback?
I think he can, but you need to build an offense around him, because he's never going to be a high percentage, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. He's always going to be vaguely inaccurate, which is fine because you can still win that way. You just need to embrace that and work with his running ability and craft an offense around him that doesn't expect him or doesn't need him to be a 70% completion quarterback. A guy that can make deep plays down the field, that can go from first to second read and make big plays. You just need to accept that he's not going to be a high efficiency quarterback, a bit like Cam Newton, and embrace the positivity that he brings to an offense.
Does he have the arm strength to play in the National Football League? When I watched Josh Allen and some of these other guys throw the ball, and then you watch him right after that, it is clearly not the same arm strength.
I think he has enough. I mean, we've saw it at Louisville. He did have the ability to make tight window throws, and everybody's either on either side of the spectrum when it comes to Lamar, and the people that are for him will pull out every one of those tight window throws. So you know that he's capable of it, but he doesn't have that down-to-down consistency. So kind of like Sam said, I think there's a path to building an offense around him. I think he can make the big throws down the field. He's going to miss a ton of throws, so it's not going to be this perfect, efficient offense, but you have to use his running ability. It reminds me a little bit of Michael Vick minus the cannon. He doesn't have that velocity, but Vick could make big-time throws. He would miss a ton of throws, but he can make up for that with his athleticism in the run game. So I think there's a path to building an offense around Lamar that could score points at the next level.
But Vic could also throw it 75 yards down the field. So, all right, let's go on to Mason Rudolph. Now, this is probably the lost guy in this discussion. First rounder?
Yeah, I would still lean to him being in the first round, and it's a weird deal for him. He's 6'5", 235. He looks like the prototype, but there's not a lot of first-round hype behind him. Usually any 6'5" guy just gets the first-round hype no matter what. The ball doesn't come out of his hand cleanly down to down. That's a bit of a concern when you're using the college ball and then transferring to the NFL ball. But at his best, he throws the ball really well outside the numbers, great timing and accuracy there. Also coming out of this system in Oklahoma State where there's a lot of open receivers and a lot of open NFL receivers that are making him look good. So his accuracy is just not where it needs to be, especially in the short game. But I still think he has enough to be that first-round guy that a team should be willing to take a chance on mid to late first round.
Yeah, there might be more question marks surrounding Rudolph than any other quarterback in this draft because he does look the part. From a physical makeup standpoint, he should be a fantastic quarterback, but a guy that size usually has a cannon for an arm, and he just doesn't. It doesn't come out of his hand the same way it does for Rosen or for Josh Allen. And within that offense, they were coached for all those deep passes. They're just high arcing rainbows. It's all the receiver doing work at the end of it. It's not him throwing these guys deep, throwing them open into a perfect bucket. There's so much that needs to change from his college play to the NFL. It's difficult to project how that's going to work. How much can he change in 1 year and become this NFL caliber player?
All right, now I'm going to move on to Josh Allen, and I would like to direct all negative tweets and emails and all of them,
Steve,
to both of these guys here because you guys have him ranked 6th. You put on the tape of this young man and watch him at the combine, and you go, wow. I mean, this is a legitimate, pure passing, comes through the football. It looks pretty coming out of his hands. Those cover 2 holes that you've got to make throws into in the NFL. He can do all of that. Why he holds on to the ball as long as he does, takes the hits that he does, I have no idea. But I watched probably a half an hour today, and I think I saw 2 checkdowns. So could his percentage go up if he's in an NFL offense and somebody's teaching him to just get the ball out of his hand? But if he plays in college like he played in the NFL, he's not going to make half the season. They're going to kill him.
You described the difficult things, the cover 2 hole, the down the field stuff, the velocity that he has that is, maybe as good as Cam Newton or Jamarcus Russell. All those comparisons are valid. He needs to get better at the easy stuff. And I don't know how easy it is to teach a guy to go through his progressions, to take the proper read in the quick game when you haven't seen him do it in college. There's so many passes where it's like, hey man, just get rid of the ball, and he wants to break the pocket and make a special throw, which he does. And look, I was at the beginning of the hype train on Josh Allen a couple of years ago watching late night Wyoming, and he's making special downfield throws, and it's like, this looks like Aaron Rodgers rolling to his left and 55 yards in stride. I need to see him do the easy stuff. I need to see him rhythm throws and accuracy at the short level, all of those things that truly matter at the next level. The special throws are great, but it's only a small fraction of what you're going to be doing at the next level. There's still a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, I think the potential is just sky high. It's incredible. I would rank him a little higher than you purely based off that potential. And what
Senior Bowl just sold you on him.
What we saw at the Senior Bowl, not just in the game where he was phenomenal, but during the week in drills where he looked a much better quarterback than we saw at Wyoming. As much as Baker Mayfield gets dinged for that weird offense and Mason Rudolph as well, the offense at Wyoming was kind of strange as well in that it appeared almost entirely based around Josh Allen's arm. They would drop back and he would just throw far hash plays only because he could do it. No other quarterback makes that throw, so they're not really covering it that tight. They're giving you off coverage and just saying, if you can take that, fine, and they did all day long. So you need to get better at running a conventional NFL offense because you're not going to be able to exist purely on your arm strength in the NFL as well. And what we saw on the field in 2017 was just so bad that it's such a huge leap to project him from that player to an NFL quarterback.
It is tough. I want you to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, who would you take?
So I'm going Mayfield, Darnold, Rosen. They're my top 3.
Mayfield, Rosen. I would go Josh Allen, number 3.
Ooh, you're third?
I would go Mayfield. I think that's the only thing we completely agree on here.
We sold you now. That's great.
Yeah, well, and I watched him. I would go Josh Allen 2nd, and I would go Rosen 3rd. I don't think you can deny the upside potential. And I've worked with quarterbacks. I've seen quarterbacks that could never quicken their release, that could never read it that quickly. I think this kid is such a phenomenal talent, and the upside is so great that you might be kicking yourself for the rest of your life if you're the New York Giants or you're the New York Jets and somehow he went past you. I just don't think you can deny the talent, and then you have to hope your coaches can get it done. Well, that's it, Pro Football Focus, and anytime you need to know anything about college football or NFL football, these guys have the answer.